Hi there. I want to begin this video first of all by apologizing to you for the lighting on this video. I have two little lamps going, but they're quite small, and so they don't add a whole lot of light to the room, but I do appreciate them. And it's cloudy outside, so I don't have the sun to beam in those beautiful life-giving rays of brightness into the room to brighten up the room. So I do apologize for the brightness level of this video. And also I am using an old cell phone that I've had for years. So anyway, I also want to mention to those of you that are new to this channel that I am not affiliated with any religious organization at this time, although I used to be, but I do consider myself to be a spiritual person. And lastly, I want to mention to those that are new to this channel that when I talk about the creator of the heavens and the earth, I will oftentimes use the title the Most High instead of God. Okay, so let's get into the video. I have been bothered for such a long time about this. I was born here in the United States, born and raised throughout my life, and both of my parents, who are both of the same race as myself, black American, and they were born and raised here as well. But we have gone through various name changes and title changes for the so-called black people of the United States. I can remember a time, and I'm a baby boomer, and so I've experienced all of these things, being called colored and Negro, and we even went briefly through a period where we were saying the word Afro-American. Now we're called either African American or black. And so I just have been so bothered by that, because when I look at other races of people, and I'll just use white people as in general, even those that were born in other countries and they come here and they live, or even if they were born here, they are just called what they are, American. And so that has just bothered me so much. Why couldn't I just be called an American? Why am I just considered black? So that bothered me so much. And so I wanted to look up some things about these different words that have been used to describe people that are the so-called black people of the United States. And I bought this dictionary a few years ago. It's the American Dictionary of the English Language, and it's written by Noah Webster, and it was it was written in 1828. So I wanted to look up some of the original definitions of certain words, because meanings of words seem to change from year to year. And so back in 1828, a word might mean one thing, whereas today it's called something totally different, or as far as the definition is concerned. So let's first look up the word American. Let me see what it says here when it talks about the word American. Let me find it. American. So back in 1828, when this book was written, it said American was the definition, and it was considered an adjective. It says native of American, or a native of America, originally applied to the aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now are applied to the descendants of the Europeans born in America. That's the definition. And remember, this was 1828. So when it talks about the copper-colored races, and so evidently there were some copper-colored races that were living here when the Europeans came here back, whenever they did come. And so this is what I view as something that's coppered. And I bought this copper bracelet several months ago. And this is an example of something that is copper color, although I have seen some copper colors that were a lot darker than this. Even pennies at one point were more similar to this color. Okay, so that's an example of copper colored. Now, let me look up the word colored. I just want to see what the definition or the meaning of it was back in 1828. The word colored. Colored. Well, here's a word here. Let's see. Colored. Colored. I'm looking for it. All right. Here's the word colored people. Black people, Africans or their descendants, mixed or unmixed. But the word colored is having the external appearance, something that's changed or dyed or tinged, painted or stained, or something that is streaked or striped, having a diversity of hues. That is the definition of the word colored. Okay? And then how about the word Negro? I'm just curious because I can remember being called that. I even called myself that many times when I was really young. Negro. All right. Okay, it says a native or descendant of the black race of men in Africa. The word is never applied to the tawny or olive-colored inhabitants of the northern coast of Africa, but to the more southern race of men who are quite black. So that was the definition of the word Negro. So it just has bothered me for such a long time that we have all of these different things that are referencing a certain race of people, the so-called black people, the race. And, you know, I think about it. I look at these hands of mine and even my face, and I have a black turban on my head, and I am not that color. I'm actually, when you really think about it, every person that is considered the black people of the world, even those in Africa, the most southern part of Africa, where it's the hottest in the world, they're not exactly this color. They may be dark, but they're all different colors, different hues of brown. So that's what I came to the realization of. But I just am so bothered by the fact that we're known as a color instead of who we really are. And when I was a little girl, and even into adulthood, I kind of played into some things that were going on even when I was little. They used to have this thing called the paper bag experiment. And maybe some of you have experienced it in your life at some point. I have a brown paper bag in front of me now. It is more kind of tannish, maybe a little darker than tan, but this is the brown paper bag. And I can remember when I was in elementary school where we did this at one point, where we kind of put the paper bag up to our face, or we put our hands up by it, and those who were the same color as the paper bag or lighter than the paper bag, they used to joke about it and say that, well, the people that were the color of the paper bag or lighter, they're going places in the world, and they'll probably accomplish a whole lot of great things. And it seemed like a lot of negative epithets were put on the people who were more my color and darker than that paper bag that I just held up, this paper bag. And to me, it seems so ridiculous to me. Because when you look at it, no man, woman, boy, or girl has control over the color that their skin is going to turn out being. Whether it's the darkest color of brown or the lightest color of white, we have no control over it. And I think it's terribly wrong when we put a value on a human life based on the color of their skin. And it seems like humans are supposed to be the most intelligent people in the world, and they get it so wrong so many times, where you're putting values on humans based on the color of their skin. And it would be different if we were focusing on the color of a person's eyes. We have no control of whether our eyes are going to be brown or blue or whatever color they are. And it's the same with the skin color. And so this is something that has just really been bothering me. So I am going to just read a scripture that I want to read today, and it's found in Genesis 1:27, and I'm going to read that to you real quickly. Genesis 1:27. All right, here it goes. No, wrong book. I want Genesis. Okay, 1:27. So the Most High created man in his own image. In the image of the Most High, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So that lets me know that whether I am dark-skinned, the darkest hue of brown, or if I'm black or white, value is put to us that we are created in the image of the Most High, male or female. Now, let me go to another scripture, and it's found in Psalms 139, verse 14. Psalms 139, verse 14. All right, it says, I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And so this lets me know, even though I was told that the Psalms were written by David, and he could have been talking about himself or whatever. But for me, I believe that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And anyone can say that about themselves, whether I am the darkest hue of brown or if I'm black or white or whatever. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And so I thought about all of these different things. And what bothers me the most is, we've gone through the paper bag challenge where we're saying that we're this and that based on the color of that paper bag. And we're talking about how different people are considered more valuable based on the color of their skin versus other people. Instead of us having that golden rule, and that golden rule is treat everybody the way you want to be treated, somehow, some way, someone missed something along the way. I truly believe that. And so this is what I've been thinking about for such a long time. Now, at one point, the so-called black races of the world, or the United States, weren't even allowed here in the United States to even read, much less possess a book or open up that book. And even if we did learn how to read, because someone was compassionate enough to teach us how to read, we couldn't be caught reading, or we would have our life to pay for that. And so at some point along the way, based on history, some people who had a whole bunch of copies of this so-called scriptures, and I used this one, this New King James Version of the Life Application Study Bible, and I use this quite a bit when I just do a lot of research about different things. Someone came along and they had all of these scriptures, and they said, well, we're going to finally allow these people, these so-called black people, to read. And so then they now hand them out. So what changed? Because at one point we weren't even allowed to read, much less read the Bible or any other type of book, but now we're allowed to read. And I'm just bothered by that, because I've read scriptures where it says, slaves, obey your masters, and just different things like that. So sometimes I question, did they tamper with the scriptures before they gave them to us? This is something that we need to think about it, at least. Did they tamper with them and fix it up a little bit and then say, okay, we can hand them out to you now, after all this time? But as you read through this scripture, it talks a lot about love, treating people with compassion and caring. But what we were seeing was the complete opposite. Even with the people that were toting this Bible around and telling people that they were pious and the best of Christians, some of them were slave owners. Some were founding fathers of the United States of America. So these are things that have just been bothering me for such a long time. And maybe it's been bothering some of you as well. But I'm at this point in my life, I am convinced that I am valuable. And you're invaluable. You're valuable. We're all valuable. And we can all account to ourselves as to what we're going to do with our lives, whether we're the darkest hue of brown or the lightest of white. It's up to us what we decide to be in our life, and not depend on someone else saying whether we're valuable or not, just because of a color of our skin that we have no control over. So this is something that has been bothering me for such a long time, and there's a whole lot more I could say about it, But I just reject the mentality that because I am a certain color, that I cannot accomplish great and mighty things in my life. You would be surprised to find out that a lot of people that were the so-called black races of the world or the United States were a lot of inventors. But back then, when they were doing the inventing, they weren't even allowed to put their name on that invention. The slave owner that owned them would put their name on it, and they got all the credit for it, whereas that slave that invented that object or that creation that they created with their own hands weren't even allowed to put their name on it. And that's sad. That is so sad. So this is what has been bothering me for such a long time. And not to mention that we go, even ourselves, we play into it where we're going through these colorism type of mindsets where we're saying, well, I'm better than you because I'm light skinned, or someone that's dark skinned will say, well, I'm dark skinned, so, and you're light skinned, you're not a part of me. Why can't we just learn to love one another regardless of the color of our eyes, the color of our skin, which are two different things that we have zero control over, you know? And I think the animals have it a whole lot better than we do because they don't go through all of that where they're saying a zebra doesn't think themselves better than a white polar bear because the zebra has stripes. You know, think about it. And when you think more and more about it, you really realize how stupid as humans we've been to fall in that trap of esteeming oneself, others above another group of people, esteeming yourself above another race of people, and really stepping on the necks of people while you're climbing to the top when there's enough room at the top for all of us to be there. And so that's really the message I'm trying to get across in this video today, that if we could just let love rule, and not the selfish type of love that is being put out into the universe, but that agape love. One man, one woman, one boy, one girl, all of us as a whole loving one another and treating one another with that golden rule of doing to others as we would have them do unto us. The world would be a better place. That's all I have to say for today. Take care. Until next time.